Hello and welcome. I am Chris Allen, Executive Director of the Kenosha County Historical Society. I will be interviewing individuals for Kenosha Voices, an oral history project of the Kenosha History Center in conjunction with Kenosha Community Media. We hope you enjoy these interviews. I'm joined here today by Liz Mosier, the first female letter carrier in Kenosha. Thanks for joining us today, Liz.
You're welcome.
So are you from Kenosha originally?
No, I was born and raised in Racine.
Okay.
So I'm not far from home.
Do you have any memories of Kenosha early in life?
Not really.
And when did you get involved with the post office?
Oh, there was a flyer that came through the mail. Maybe back in '65 or whatever. I don't remember when it came. They were wanting to hire people at the post office. And I figured, well, I'll fill it out and see what happens. And I filled it out and sent it in. I also managed to get the test, and that was a hard test. But I passed it with either a 76 or a 78.
So what first interested you in the post office? You get the flyer in the mail.
That was it.
Okay.
We needed more money to raise the 4 kids and a house and all of that. It's just one of those things that happens. I never in the world thought it was going to happen because I never finished high school. I got married and had family instead. But I went there.
So you applied with the post office.
I applied for Sturtevant, Union Grove, Racine, and as a last thought, Kenosha. Well, I got an interview at Union Grove and one at Racine, but they weren't hiring. So it became Kenosha. You had to be able to drive to from where you lived to wherever you put down. So that was why I put down Kenosha.
And when did you start in Kenosha? So you mentioned a test. What part of the hiring process did the test come in?
Oh, the test came way before the hiring. The test was in the Racine post office.
What was the test like? What did it ask you?
Oh, there was so many different things. There was legalese type. The last one was yeah.
Was it math?
Math, yeah. And I was pretty good at math. And he told all of us that if we got done before the time was over, we should go back over. And I got done before the time was over, but I wasn't gonna go back and redo it because then I would have wrong answers the second time. I just knew it. Like I said, I'd passed with either a 76 or a 78.
Now you passed the test and then you interviewed in Kenosha eventually?
Yeah, well, I interviewed a couple of places, but they weren't hiring, or they were only hiring part-time. I really needed kind of a full-time job, and you could put down either clerk or carrier. Well, clerk was like double shift, early in the morning and later in the evening. I needed something where I knew it was going to be a certain time. My husband worked second shift. I had to be gone during the day then. So that was why I became the carrier instead of a clerk.
What was the interview like for the post office? What kind of questions did they ask you? Do you recall?
The boss?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I really don't. I know they didn't like me. They didn't want me around. And a lot of the older guys really didn't want me around.
And why do you say that? Why do you think they didn't want you? Because you were a female?
Yeah. I was walking into their territory. It, really and truly, and I think their wives didn't want me around either. They figured that I would steal their husbands.
And when did you start with the post office? What year was that?
May 3rd of 1969.
And what was it like being the only female letter carrier? You touched on it a little bit on how they didn't want you there. When you walk in that first day or that first year that you're there, what was that like?
Well, the first one that the one guy that I went out with on his route, he's showing me how to do these things. Well, when you're new at anything, all of that kind of goes in one ear and out the other. And well, the next day I did his route by myself. I'm sure there was mail left out there that I didn't think I had to pick up. I don't know. I know I made a lot of mistakes in that first year. Sometimes not even just the first year. Just to begin with, it was all new. All new.
And what was your job in that first year? You're a letter carrier. Did you have your own route?
No. When you start, you're a substitute. You get handed a bunch of mail and here you go. They didn't give you a lot of help. They didn't want me around, so they didn't help me. But some of the guys that were closer to my age were more helpful than the older guys that really didn't want me around. They didn't.
So as a substitute letter carrier, you get your mail in the morning. Do you have to sort that according to your route?
Not until you get your own route.
Okay.
No, they'd have it all sorted and there you go.
And it wouldn't be the same route each day?
Very seldom was it the same route. One sub told me afterwards, he always knew what route I was going to be on the next day because they'd keep them in the office and fill it up with all the mail. And yeah, he knew, and sometimes that was tough. It was.
What kind of equipment did you have to do your job?
Well, I got a license, a federal license for driving the Jeeps. The one boss took me downtown with a 1-ton truck and had me back up. He told somebody that I knew later on anyway, that son of a gun, she can drive that better than I can. But we had a pickup truck at home with a camper on it. I was always taught to learn how to do everything. I didn't take and change oil on our cars. Made the girls, my kids, do it though.
And did you have, when you got to your route, did you have a cart or a bag, or how did that work?
Well, I didn't start, the first time was with a cart. But after I got the driver's license, I was able to go out to the other routes. And the one route I remember, and I'm sure they thought I was going to get lost, was out between 60th and 67th Street, between 39th Avenue and whatever would be on the west side, where all the roads were on an angle. They were roads, not streets. And they thought I was going to get lost. Well, I'm from Racine. No, I'm not going to get lost on this. And I think they were surprised. It took me a while, but I made it. I made that one. And the guy that had that route was sick at times, and I'd get that route to work now and then.
So you were a sub when you were first hired. What came after being a substitute?
Oh, eventually you became a swing carrier. And that's where you work 5 different routes in a week. So almost like being a sub, except that you weren't. You actually had some vacation time and you had a day off. You knew what day you were going to have off. And there were times on those 5 routes, 2 of them were kind of inner city routes, and if those 2 guys were on vacation, I'd get stuck with it, the route for the whole week generally. But that was okay. I didn't care. I knew the people out there. It was nice. I got to talk to people. I like to talk. Nice talking to people, and they talk back without being nasty.
Now, you mentioned vacation briefly, and I want to use that to talk about the benefits of working at the post office. You mentioned you got the job because you wanted to get paid, obviously.
Yes.
What was the benefit package like and the pay like?
Well, my pay was $2.99 an hour when I started. In March of '70, we went out on strike. There was 4 ladies by that time, 2 letter carriers and 2 others that worked inside, the clerks. The guys wouldn't let us picket at night, but we did picket, all 4 of us. There was some that crossed the picket line, some that got there and found us picketing and went home. I was there.
What was the strike over?
Benefits and pay. You know, that was a big thing
And this was a union strike. This is
Yes. This was not only letter carriers, this was clerks too, the whole post office.
What was the name of the union that you were a part of?
NALC, National Association of Letter Carriers.
You were a union member, obviously, at the beginning. Did you ever get more involved with the union over the years?
I did. I don't know when, but I did become the secretary of the union for a while. I don't know if I was there maybe a couple of years. Yeah, I did. I was involved while I was working.
And as a woman working at the post office, were you paid and did you receive the same benefits as the men working there, to your knowledge?
Supposedly, I think that if a guy and I walked in and got hired at the same time, maybe we would get paid the same, but not otherwise. No. I thought it was good pay at the time. This was back in '69. And the only reason I got hired at all is because it was equal opportunity time.
Now, what was your relationship? You talked a little bit about your relationship with the coworkers and how they give you a hard time.
After a little while, they got used to me. Some of them did. The younger ones took to me better than the old guys. Some of the old guys were close to retirement. But it seems like I managed to get into some of the routes. I didn't carry every route in the post office. I did carry the 2 downtown routes. I remember that. The one you had to keep coming back to the post office and going over to the courthouse. It was interesting. I never knew from one day to another what I was going to be doing.
Did you like that?
It was okay.
Keeps things interesting.
Yes, it does. And you meet different people every day then.
What was your relationship what was the relationship like between management and the workers of the post office, the letter carriers and the clerks?
They were okay with everybody else, but when I walked in, that was another thing. I had always been called Lynn, which is my middle name, and I asked the bosses to please call me Lynn. And one time the boss wanted to talk to me, and he called me Liz, and I kept on walking. So he called me Lynn, and then I went back and talked to him, whatever he wanted. I don't remember what he wanted, but there was always something. Yeah, there was always something. And I can remember the one boss coming back when I'd be working at the case, and he'd say, "Liz, quiet down. They can hear you all the way out in the lobby." I said, "But I'm working." "But you're probably not letting all the workers around you work." So I heard that more than once. See. I can't help it. I like to talk and I like to laugh. And I'm loud, I guess.
So we've talked through the beginning stages of your career. You went from a substitute to then
Swing carrier.
swing carrier. What came next for you?
My route. I tried one route and it didn't suit me, I guess. And and this was all by seniority. And I took this other route, and they called it Little Italy because there was so many Italians in the neighborhood. And I got along fine with them. I did.
Where was Little Italy? Where was this route?
Well, 13th Avenue to and including 22nd Avenue, 22nd, 52nd Street, 53rd Street, 54th Street, 55th Street, and one block on 56th Street. The only thing that ever changed was if a house burned down, or most of the time there wasn't another house built, but I got to know the people. And when people would move, they would fill out a card for a change of address. And of course, that was the area where it was cheaper rent, so people just didn't really always put in a change of address. They just move it during the middle of the night, and you'd hold the mail for 10 days, and then you'd put in a move no ad. That means they moved without leaving an address.
And when you got your route, do you know about what year that would have been? Was that the 1970s at some point?
In the 70s, maybe 75, 74, 75. Because I did put some time in as a swing carrier, and I enjoyed that.
Now, what was Columbus Park neighborhood like when you started there?
Italian people. There was people that were looking for a cheap rent, and they would move in, they'd move out. It was hard to keep track. It really was. But the old Italians, they treated me so good once they got to know me. You know, they weren't used to seeing a lady out there. Even when I was a swing carrier, the one lady wanted to flag me down, and she said, "Mailman," and I turned around and I went to her. She had a letter, but I didn't stop because they called me mailman. I don't care.
And the route in Columbus Park neighborhood, that was a walking route, is that correct?
Well, to begin with, it wasn't. It had a Jeep, and the next year they took and checked the route and see if it was big enough or small enough or whatever. And that's when they decided I was going to be on a walking route. And I made it. There were times that it was tough. But then I guess I'm tough enough. I must have been tough enough. I made it through all of that.
And with the walking route, you know, we talked about the equipment earlier. At times, was there a cart that you would have?
Yes, when I started just plain walking, yeah, there was a cart. And if you didn't use the cart, you had to carry 35 pounds of mail. And the one time I had my cart full, I said to the boss, well, I can't put any more in this cart. I want to know how much weight is in there if it's the 35 pounds. We took it out and weighed it. It didn't weigh 35 pounds, but I couldn't get any more in that bag. And he knew it. He saw what was in there.
Other than the weight of the bag, what were some other challenges that you faced on your route or at your time or during your time at the post office?
Well, one place or another, I managed to run into dogs. Well, sometimes I could make friends with the dogs. Sometimes I couldn't. I think I got bit by a dog 4 or 5 times, and they were all smaller dogs. There was a dog up the street, not too far from my house, and he'd catch me in the yard every once in a while. And I finally decided I didn't feel like putting up with that, so before I got to their house, because it was closed up, I had to go through the fence to get in the house, into the mailbox. I would start humming or whistling, and he'd hear me. Then I would walk on by. The lady didn't like it. I said, but you got to keep your dog locked up until after I've gotten past here.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was another time on 22nd Avenue that little dog got at me, got me in the back of my leg, and I couldn't imagine how he got over that 6-foot fence. The next day, the boss and the other people for dogs came out to see how that dog got out. He would climb that 6-foot fence. He was just a little dog. But they were told to keep that dog locked up until after the mail was gone. Real simple.
Did you have favorite houses or favorite people along your route?
Oh, there was too many to even mention, but there was a little old grandma, and she had trees and a garden, and I didn't get out of that yard without her giving me something to take home. But Grandma, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And of course, she was the grandma of a lot of other people on the route. But I, of course, at that time, I didn't know that. but there were a lot of people. There was.
What types of things did she give you?
Fruit or vegetables, always. It was never money. I talked with her daughter many times, and I always called her Grandma. I was raised where you did that, Grandma or Grandpa or aunt or uncle or whatever, and I made my kids do the same thing. It was different. But no, she was special. She was special. I think that there were a lot of people, and there's, out of all of that route, I think there's maybe only 5, maybe 6 that are still living in the neighborhood. And that's not including me.
So you eventually moved to the Columbus Park neighborhood?
Yes, I was delivering mail one time and saw that there was no curtains on the front window. Oh, looked in, nothing. So I brought the mail back, and as I was walking from the porch, I saw the for sale sign. So, yeah, I bought the house. I've lived there for 64 years. I liked the house. I guess I liked the neighborhood. We did look a couple of times for something else, but this was my neighborhood.
So you liked it so much. You were delivering mail in this neighborhood, and you liked it so much that you bought a house there.
Yep.
And the people.
I liked the people, I guess. Yeah. After if I'd have a day off or a vacation day, I'd go and visit some of the neighbors that were widowed or widowed, whichever. There were 2 or 3 people that I spent time visiting. I enjoyed visiting them. They needed somebody to talk to. That was it. I can't help, I can't help it. It's just who you are and what kind of people you meet.
And you mentioned the gifts from the grandma that you'd go in.
Yeah.
What were holidays like on the route? Did you get any other gifts?
Well, some of the businesses gave me liquor, because there were businesses that did do liquor, but there were people that gave me $5, and probably was their last $5 to begin with. They, some of them never gave me anything, but that was okay too. I was getting paid. But yeah,
Were there any handmade gifts?
oh my God, because it was Little Italy, I got packages of, I didn't know what it was at that time, but Scalides, Italian. What can I say? I know the one older lady, when she couldn't do it anymore, she sent her son to the bakery so that I would get my Scalides. There's special people wherever.
And talking about weather just a little bit, so the mail gets delivered in any weather.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I know I went through all the hot weather. That was okay. The hardest one, I had 2 real hard winters. One was right after I moved into my house in '78. That was the storm of '78, '79. Oh my God. It was so deep. There was a guy that served summons, and we came around. He says, "Come on, Liz, I'm going to take you back to the post office." I said, "I'm not done." He says, "You're not going to be done if you don't come with me." So I went back to the post office. There was mail left out there. I don't know, somebody probably went out there. But there, I think that was the year that most of the taverns went broke because people couldn't even walk to the taverns.
How much snow are we talking about? Feet.
I don't even remember, and it kept on snowing. It wasn't, you know, there was only 2 lanes down 52nd Street.
And it was feet of snow, though. It wasn't inches, it was feet.
Oh, feet, yeah. I don't remember. I just know you just couldn't get through. And there was a lot of people just didn't get their mail. I'd try and go up one time. If they didn't at least make a path, I had to take it back and hold it. I couldn't. You didn't. Safety. Safety. You know, you have to be safe.
Let's start with the positive. What was the best part of your job?
The people. I liked the people. And eventually the guys, it was more and more ladies, of course, and it was just one of those things. The guys finally figured out I wasn't going to leave, so they would all we got along. There was lots of times. Yeah, it was hard for them at first, but after I got in there and showed that I could do the same work that they were doing, they kind of settled back, and I still like to laugh at them. Did with some of the younger ones. Like I said, the boss came many times and said, "Liz, quiet it down. They can hear you all the way out in the lobby." But I'm working. But they think that you're not working because you're laughing and whatever.
Sounds like you made a lot of friends at the post office.
I did. Most of them, a lot of them are gone.
Do you still get together with some of them?
Well, in January we have a union dinner for the carriers, and they still come up and say, "Hi, Liz," you know, and talk and whatever. And a lot of times I'll sit at a different table and with guys I don't know, and I don't care. I can get to know them. It's good. I don't know. You just have to go on one day at a time, is what my friend says.
So you started May 3rd, 1969. When did you retire from the post office?
It was October of 1992.
And why did you decide to retire at that point?
They had sent out a letter in probably August and offering an early out. If you were 55, and I had just turned 55 in August, so I was ready, because by that time I was on a driving route, and I really did. It was so much mail. Oh my God, there was so much mail. But I still like that walking route. I still see people. I go and visit with people. I like people.
So you retired in 1992. Obviously, you already had your house in the neighborhood, and you still live in Columbus Park neighborhood today.
Yes.
And how has the neighborhood changed over the years?
Well, instead of there being Italians, we've got Hispanics, a lot of Hispanics, but there's still renters. There's probably black people. Whatever. It's just a nice mixture, and I always figure, you treat me good, I'll treat you good. And most of my neighbors treat me good, or they just don't bother. That's okay too.
And you have a garden.
I have a garden around my house, a large garden, but I became a volunteer for Keep Kenosha Beautiful. The alderman at the time was Julia Robinson, and over by the railroad track was always something dumped there, always. So she got hold of somebody, and that was when Keep Kenosha Beautiful became. And there was a bunch of neighbors that got together, and we all talked and everything. Well, I wasn't quite ready, I guess, but eventually I took the one garden. There was only 3 gardens there at the time. There's 5 now. Maybe more than that, actually. But no, I went over there and I took care of that garden, and the gal who was running it said, "Liz, I need you to work over in that garden too." Okay. And it wasn't long, and she wanted me to work in another garden. Well, in the meantime, I became a volunteer out at Gateway in the greenhouse. And the gal that ran the greenhouse is one of my best friends. There was a bond between us. We both lost a husband, and it was just easy to talk to her. But there was a student there. Most of the ones that I know are my kids' ages. I don't have too many older friends, but these two were friends. They're both friends now. They do for me when I can't do for myself.
So you grew up in Racine, you took a job at the Kenosha Post Office, you got your route in the Columbus Park neighborhood, fell in love with it so much that you bought the house and you're still there today.
Yes, and I give money to the school. I've tried the different schools, but I go to Tremper High School and give $2,000 for scholarships because they were the only ones that said, come and be there. I never saw the ones at Bradford or Indian Trail. It was the way it was. You treat me good, I'll treat you good. I did go up there. I made a speech. I told them I work here, I live here, and I pay taxes here so that you can have a school to go to. That's how I always started out my little speech. From there on, it was off the top of my head. I've been told by other people that I was a hard act to follow. And I don't know why. I don't have any notes. Nothing. But the kids liked what I said. I don't know what I said that they liked it, but they would laugh or they would clap. I don't know what it was. I just know I go back there every year. I couldn't last year because my second great-grandson was graduating at the same time. And I'm kind of miss that. But that's okay too. I got to see my great-grandson graduate.
Well, Liz, we really appreciate you sharing your story with Kenosha Voices and the Kenosha History Center. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. This was interesting, fun, all the things. I like to let everybody know that that mailman walking out there in the hot, the cold, the rain, whatever, should be your friend. I try to be a friend. I do. A lot of times I would offer them some cold water in the summer. Sometimes they'd take it, sometimes they would say, I got some in the truck. Okay, whatever. I got to know a lot of people, younger people. I did. I enjoyed my job. I did.
And a trailblazer for the Postal Service.
Well, and there was a lot of them came beyond me. There was a lot of ladies, and of course, most of them became pregnant, so we'd have the parties for the ones with that's going to have the baby. We did a lot of things, and then November, when we'd have a day off, we'd get together and go down to the train station and get on the train and go down to Chicago, go shopping. We had a lot of fun in all those times. We did. Sometimes I wish I hadn't gone to that driving route, but that's over and done with too. I'm retired for a lot of years already.
Well, thank you again, Liz.
You're welcome.